Hello, hello. Welcome, one and all. Peter Palmiotti, and this is Making Comics and Art, episode 225. And today we're talking with Phillip. Welcome.
Hey, Peter. Hey, everyone.
So, more than likely, we'll have a lot more people watching after the fact, but, I've been streaming at different hours, not really having a regular schedule. But yeah, like you're here to talk about your project. So, how did this come about?
Yeah, so I'm here to talk about Purple Eyes. It's my newest anthology. It's an extension of a story that Sean Dicker and Justin Birch and I created together. The premise is that 73 minutes before you die, your eyes turn a vibrant purple. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it to fix it. So a doctor can't help you. There's no medical resolution. There's no choices you can make. It's 100% accurate. And this occurs throughout the world, and it's only for humans. So the stories that I write are very grounded, character-based, and they deal with the emotional trauma and drama of the human experience. So even though we had the supernatural element to it, the main focus was the characters. So our initial story revolved around a young girl around 10, 11 years old and her younger brother who ends up getting purple eyes. And it's that story is a reconciliation of, the 5 stages of grief, like just understanding, like being, not, denying it, then being angry about it, but then coming to like the realization, like, this is happening. And the 73-minute time limit is so limiting. It's very stark. You can't do anything with it, and that's one of the reasons why we chose it, was because if you have, it's only an hour and a half really before you realize you're not going to be alive anymore. I swear this is like a happier story.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, yeah, it's definitely a limited time frame. I could imagine, like, I would call a few people, and that's about it. It's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and so when we wrote the story, we realized there was something there. Like, as much as we put our whole focus in the short story and the characters and making sure it felt like a short story, it didn't feel like, a mini pitch to give to editors type of thing. Like, it felt complete, and it did. But the concept was still enticing, and so it kept lingering, and like, you can. It's almost. I've been told this. I didn't realize at the time, but I've been told it's basically a writer's project. It's, just something to get your ideas flowing. But when I was thinking about the core concept, or post, completion of the story, like the core concept, I was like, well, you can do anything. Like, you can do like a spy story. You can do a comedy story. Like a gallows humor type of story. Like, it can branch off to different, genres. And so what we're currently doing is the culmination of this, which is, we had an open submission process for anyone that wanted to pitch their ideas. The only caveat was you have to have your creative team already collected, and just pitch us whatever crazy ideas you have about just these small constraints of, if you have 73 minutes to live, and your eyes turn purple, it doesn't have to be your main character. It could be anything. And we got 185 pitches. I initially wanted to do 12, 12 stories, and then I just could not say no. And so it bulked up to 18 stories that all intertwine and weave into each other in a way I haven't really seen in indie comics or in anthology, where characters and settings kind of repeat. So a character, like the main character of like the third story, it could be the sibling of the main character in the like 12th story. And it's just trying to give the reader the best experience. So yeah, it's just a lot of hard work that all the creative teams have been doing and will continue to do. But like we've been working on a decent chunk of this in silence, and hints and teasers here and there for the last 3 to 4 months. And now that we're kind of show / tease a little bit more what we've been doing, and yeah, just there's still a lot more work ahead of us, but now we can kind of like get people super excited, try to do the usual stuff, pay. Like the big thing that I'm always about is paying their artists a fair wage, and a fair wage for their time and skills. And I really don't see that often in some of these pitch submissions that want like $50 per page split between the creative teams. Just like they're predatory. It's not laughable. Like, so they are predatory. So I want to make sure everyone gets paid well. Hence why the Kickstarter's here. But yeah, I feel like I've been yammering.
No problem. I worked on anthology with a lot of teams on it, and I know like how difficult that is to all pull together and get everybody to finish their work and all the stories in and make it into something like really nice in the end. Yeah, I saw on your Kickstarter page, if you want to take us there, that you have a pretty high goal, which a lot of independents might not choose to, like even if they want to reach a certain goal, they might choose a lower goal to start off with to make sure.
Yeah.
That,
do you want me to share the page?
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, let me. Hopefully, I'm not too much of an old man to figure this out.
And we have a couple people in the chat. And Greg.
Screen 2.
Okay, here it goes. It'll take a second.
Cool. All right, cool. So yeah, so we had a pretty good. I mean, I'm really proud of what we did on day 1. So this is day 2. But yeah, as mentioned, the goal is pretty high. It's 18 grand, but I feel that's the bare minimum that we need, that I've budgeted for to pay. Like over half the money is going to the creative team. The other half is going, or a good quarter of it's going toward the printing. I've used the same printer for about 5 years now. I use Greco Comics Wellspring in Michigan. They do a fantastic job, but the price of stuff is kind of expensive, and like the rest of the fourth goes to the usual Kickstarter fees and taxes and things of that nature, and obviously shipping. But yeah, super happy and proud of what we've been doing. Here's like the little teaser. But yeah, the big thing is there's 18 stories, 33 creators that are just some of the best in indie comics. Some are Still pretty young. There's a few college students, people in various different types of illustration or sequential art, practices, trying to just get their foot in the door. And, there's two off the top of my head that I know that this is like their first major publication, and which I'm always happy about. What I always call like extending the ladder down. Like all of us started with, pretty much from the ground floor, just trying to make stories and try to get them published. But it's always great. It's always humbling in trying to help newer creators be their first entryway so they have something that's physically in print. So within the Kickstarters, the few sample pages of that initial story, I didn't want to give away the whole first story away, but there's enough of a teaser to see. I did want to note that for the Kickstarter, the whole book will be in color. It's just this initial first story had a limited color palette because it tied into the emotion and like the theme of the story, which is having that pure purple only colors. But one of the other cool things that we're doing for this Kickstarter that is pretty original, and Devaki, one of the artists on the anthology, had a really unique idea of doing something that we ended up calling death cards. And she's been part of oh man, I'm having a brain fart. She's been part of one of Shelley Bond's Kickstarters, and they had a similar one where it's just this small, quick doodle, and you give them away for pretty cheap. But the idea is that you don't know which artist you get. You don't pre-select which artist you get the illustration from. So for us, we have death cards, which are a picture of the Grim Reaper holding a purple flower. And we figure it'd be, it's up to the artist's interpretation if they want to do like a pop culture mashup with the Grim Reaper and like a purple flower, either like something like the piranha plants from Mario or the tree from Little Shop of Horrors, or if they want to do like a silly one, or if they want to do like a horror themed one. Just something small and no card size paper. That like there's just so many talented artists, but the surprise is that you get like a random piece of art that you can hang on the wall for fairly cheap. And then we also have their standard commissions, your choice of whatever movie, TV, manga, comic book character you'd like. But the caveat is it'd be normal size and like a larger one, larger illustration where it's ink on paper. But the caveat is it'll be colored, but the only color we use would be purple. So the example we use is like the Green Goblin's costume with the bright purpleness. So we got a couple. We try to spread out and give the best experience to people. We have digital bundles of all the creators, or for some of the creators, to help entice newer readers to the anthologies are great because you get newer readers. The intention is that all the creators involved, all their fan bases kind of like co-pollinate each other and spread off, and the fan bases kind of like learn what other who other creators are, and they look at each other's stuff. So we've been trying to figure out ways to do that better. So we have the fan bases kind of mix and match a bit. So the idea that we came up with was doing like a digital comic bundles. So the creators issue ones or short story collections. That way readers that do get the comic bundle read more of people's personal work and personal stories, and then they can branch off and go to their web stores and purchase the rest. the rest of the digital comics. So just trying to find better ways to help the creators of the anthology, build their fan base, but also to find ways for them to, financially, everyone's getting paid a page rate, but just find little extra ways for them to financially get some extra cash, as well as new fans. But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We have, like I said, just 33 creators. I feel like I'm in too much of a sales pitchy type of mood. But for me, I'm a creator. Like I love just creating stories. And this is like a huge, giant effort between between everyone. All of us just want to bring these stories into the world and just show what the initial concepts and pre-planning that all of us have been doing for, like I said, 3 to 4 months, and that we will continually be doing until the thing goes to the printer. At least right now, it's scheduled to go to the printer around October. So around November, everything gets finalized. Books are at my door, and I can ship them out in November. Hopefully, be at people's doorsteps, at least domestically in North America, around December. So whatever your end of holiday celebration is, Hanukkah or Christmas or just plain old New Year, you at least got a new book. And if you got the art, the new art commission tier, you get some fresh new art if you want to keep it for yourself or give it away as a present.
So how big is the book? Will the book be if there's 18 creators all doing stories?
Yeah, 33 creators, 18 stories. Right now, we're looking at 140 pages. I got everything is, I think it's like 120, or 125. I think it's around 125 with all the stories. And then we'll probably not pad it, but we'll fill it with back matter because, most of us are creators. And I personally enjoy getting, reading the full thing and getting to the back and seeing some whips, works in progress. It hasn't been revealed, but Jack Foster is doing the cover, and we haven't revealed the cover yet. But things like that, we're talking about doing, like Jack doing a small section in the back describing his thought process and building toward what the final cover was in the various steps, and talking with other creators and putting in creators' minds of we're gonna have room for people to put their thoughts on paper as far as character sketches, because we're still playing around with it. There's we want to have maybe a few characters that are in multiple stories, but to do that you have to think about it visually. There has to be key visual components that can be translated to various artistic styles, and kind of maybe
Right.
showing that process would be interesting. And then obviously giving enough breathing room page wise for people's profiles and portfolios and stuff. It's as great as this is my 4th anthology, my 3rd Kickstarter. It's always, you need to have space to put all the creative teams in there and all the creators in there, because everyone's doing a fantastic job of putting all their effort and skill into these things. And it's disingenuous just to have, their name in the credits page and that's it. You have to have more, you have to give them their contact information in the bio and list their personal projects. So that's the aim is, I really, really hope that when people read this anthology and read all the stories in between, inside of it, that they want to go look at the portfolios and previous work and stories by all these other creators, because it's well deserved. This is the top of the top that was selected. I'm just endlessly proud of everyone.
Yeah, it's like I enjoy that too, like where you pick up a book and it's not just a story and that's it, like where there's extra material, where there's bios, where like I looked at the Kickstarter page really quick and I don't know a lot of their names, so like if I was to pick up this book, I would track people down, like and see what else they're up to, and yeah, I'm always curious to know more and to see more. So I totally get it.
Let me throw it back at you. What would you do if you had 73? Like if you knew you had the peak amount of time, like if you had 73 minutes and you knew you saw your eyes change, what would you do at that time?
It's not a lot of time. It's like you said, like I would make sure like my stuff would go to somebody I love, like really, like realistically, I don't have a will written out, so I guess I have to act really quick and make it happen. It's barely enough time to say like, oh, okay, I'll enjoy myself for the last amount of time I have in life. No, it's not really enough time to do that. So it would be more about making sure that those I love have an opportunity to say goodbye or something to that effect,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my inverse is just, I've thought about this obviously because I've been with this concept for quite some time, but yeah, it would just be to be with my loved ones, or just like be with my wife and just tell her how much I love her. I mean, as much as I know when you kind of were talking about like making a will, it kind of got my brain going. That seems like a part of this world would be like scam artists, like 1-800 numbers of like people trying, like lawyers trying to do quick wills or something and just take take people's money and stuff, or double up and
Yeah.
like life insurance.
There'd be a website where it's like a template where you just sign at the bottom and maybe somebody else can fill it in for you. Like there's no time. It's literally.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of bounces back. Like one of our stories, a lot of the pitches that we got were, I don't know, they were focused as the like the purple eyes concept as a disease, and so there was a few that were focused on like researchers, and the punchline was like they quote unquote cured it, but they died before they can, write it down and put it in their notes. But I kept saying like this is 100% accurate. I always attribute it kind of how like The Leftovers is, the TV show, where it's this event happens and people are attributing various, their various scientific and spiritual belief systems and reasoning onto why this occurred, will it occur again, type of thing. And similar to this is something that just kind of happened in our world. And, everyone's trying to find a reasoning for it and, like I said, a cure for it. But it's not really a cure. So one of the stories that ended up being that was kind of like in the medical field was one that had to do with the like frontline workers in like a hospital or like an emergency care place. And in this world, the creator, she thought that like it's almost like a taboo, like you don't treat people with purple eyes when they come in, because then it just opens up medical malpractice lawsuits. You might be the cause, or like the loved ones would be just super angry. So then they'll try to blame you for it because be like, well, they were here in their waiting room, and you didn't get to them fast enough, and now their eyes are purple. And I thought that was a very, very grounded approach. Plus, she has family that are in the medical profession, so she asked me, like, can I put the Latin words and all the terms? And I'm like, yeah, because that's what happened. Like, if you're in that field, people use the medical terms all the time as far as just shouting things out. So yeah, it's I'm excited for that. There's a good mix. Like there's a few magical realist ones, like very visual based type of pure comics type thing with just like splash pages and your eye just dart across the page. There's no strict panel borders. And there's a few that are, there's one that's a sports story. There's a few ones of jilted lovers. The ones that are comedy, there's 3 that are comedy. And the ones that are comedy, like I actually laughed out loud when I was reading the pitches. And yeah, there's one good revenge story. And there's at least 2. Well, there's a couple of revenge stories, I should say. But there's 2 that are very silent, or not silent, but like very quiet type of a person dying by themselves, but how they choose to spend their last moments. There's 2 that had that type of weight and kind of just like a serene thing where it didn't. The purple eyes concept was like another like it was like almost like an afterthought. Like it could have been like a short comic in any other aspect, and then the character's eyes purple for a few panels. It's very it was very grounded and like I said, character focused. So all these stories are very based on characters making decisions. You watching them fuck up. Sorry, can we swear on this?
It's fine.
Yeah, like characters.
I like it because you can really take it in any direction story wise. My thought was like what immediately came to mind was like I would write some kind of gangster story or something like in regard to purple, like one of the gangsters having purple eyes and how the others react to that or whatever. But yeah, you can take it everywhere, and it's a good premise. Like that you can pretty much do anything. I also thought like, well, what if the person isn't home? What if they're on vacation or on business, like in a different country? Like that affects what they do too. Like
Yeah. The action ones. There were some pretty good action ones, and one of them got in, but I won't spoil it. But one of the things that we were kind of thinking of, like I said, how to fill the world, is like almost like a John Wick-esque poster where it's someone in the center and their eyes are clear, but they have like 80 people with guns surrounding them and all their eyes are purple. And so it's just like we're just trying to think of like cool ways to like because movies they tie it into movies and entertainment and music. Like it'll be
yeah, totally. I mean, the iconic image. So for anybody that doesn't know you or your work, what have you like when did your career start, and what have you been doing throughout it? Kind of give people a general idea.
Yeah. So I started writing comics about 5 years ago. I don't have like my background and day job is like in tech, so I don't have it's like I went to college for any type of writing program, or I'm not like a screenwriter trying to go into comics. Like comics has always been my passion, just like as a reader. Like I grew up reading for like in college, I started getting really deep into reading all the Vertigos. Image was still has some pretty good books at the time, but a lot of those Vertigos, like reading the Hellblazer and Lucifer, whatever Peter Milligan was making, because he was pumping out like limited series like crazy when Grant was doing their thing. And during that time, Garth Ennis, Preacher was a huge inspiration, and kind of just like an eye opening of what comics can do. So yeah,
it's missed. Vertigo's missed
for sure. But I was reading enough of them, and I kind of had that itch. And like the only thing I can kind of explain it as is like if you do something enough, you kind of want to make an attempt at it. So like if you watch a lot of baseball and you love baseball, you might go try to get a softball team at a local rec center or like a summer league. And it's similar to that. For me, like I was just reading comics all the time, and I was like, maybe I should just try to do this. So I tried doing a 5-page story, and it took me 2 months to write that script. And once I did, I had to kind of just go through the motions and figure out what to do next. And just around that time was Inktober. So I contacted an artist whose art that I liked just based off of an illustration. She had the word comics in her profile, so I knew she had comics experience. And so after that message, Hannah and I, we worked on the story together, and I had to like learn, the various steps between, postscript is, then it's character sketches and thumbnails, inking, color, and finally lettering, and just getting that experience, the back and forth and constant creation and kind of trying to one up each other throughout that. And Hannah and I have created 4 stories together. I've helped her edit one of her books, one of her zines, or 2 of her zines. Yeah, 2. And then just from there, I just wrote another 5-pager, and I found Kishore by just happenstance, messaged him the script, and so from there I just kept building these short stories, and I was like wanted to see them in print. And as much like I'm from Chicago, as much as we have like a very vibrant zine scene over here, there's even Quimby's, which is a pure zine store, like a brick and mortar zine store. I'm still traditional. Like I want my regular sized book. I bundle them all together into a self-published anthology, and then I wrote another one, and I wrote and did another one. So now I have those. Those are my 3 previous works, those 3 previous anthologies of just short stories that I wrote. I've collaborated with illustrators from all over the world, and each story each book keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like the first one was kind of limited. It was like 24 pages. The next one was 28, but the third one was 56, and now this one is going to be 140. So everything keeps kind of growing and growing. And it's a lot, because this one's me editing, putting on the editor hat for a good chunk of it. But I'm used to, open communication between all the artists and creative teams, giving everyone what they need as early as possible, templates for file formats, just any little bit of information they need, creating open spaces for people, like shared folders for people to drop things in that they think other creators might need, especially with this thing, with how we're trying to link stories, like a shared doc and like shared folder with just sketch, people can drop sketches that they can like bounce ideas off of. Just trying and succeeding of just, making this as smooth as possible, because there are there are a lot of spinning plates, but just like I said, getting people what they need as early as possible and always being there to answer questions, especially with people from all over the world. As you can kind of see, I kind of just left it here, but like Alex here, that's on the creator page, is in Australia. So whenever we contact each other, it's always a day late. It's like the next day later for that person. So like always making sure that everyone's up to date with all the info is key. And regardless, even if editing this anthology, that's how I always believed. Like whenever I'm contacting potential artists to collaborate with, I always have the completed script, so we have something to discuss. And so I've done quite a lot of work prior to that before even reaching out. So I'm not wasting someone's time. Like I'm like, here's the starting point. Now we can discuss if you like the story, and B, if you are interested, we can discuss what works, what doesn't work, what's best for your schedule, timelines, page rates, all the important stuff. But yeah, especially as the writer, I feel like it's super important to have at least the script partially done or completely done, so you're not wasting potential artists' time even just reading your script or just reading your cold emails.
I know like some artists like very tight full script. Some artists, if you give them a plot, they love it. So, also balancing who you're working with and what they prefer method-wise and all that, I'm sure comes into play. Is there anything like programs or sites that you use? Like, do you do live chats with some people, like, or is it just through email, or is it like, is there any
So in the past, I've just communicated with email. I'm always open to to just do chats, do any type of video call. But for this specific project, because of how interlinked we're trying to make some of these stories, we've been doing weekly Zoom calls. Sometimes it's two different options, because depending on people's time zones, at least for me in North America, we try to have it pretty early, like 10 or 11 o'clock, to give the Europeans and the people in like Asia some flexibility, because it's going to be nighttime over there. So we've been trying to do that, like I said, at least once a week, and it's just going to make the project better. It's there are it's with anything. You got a group of creators chatting, there are going to be side tangents of people just saying like, hey, have you read this cool thing yet? But there's always better ideas. Like we had one of the ideas that we had was, because this whole 73 minutes into the die aspect, from just the creator chat, or just from one of those creator Zoom meetings, Devaki had a great idea of like leaning more into this 73 aspect. And so we did like a pre-launch yesterday we did a pre-launch before the Kickstarter went live, where some of the fans and the creators met and we chatted. And the idea was that the live stream went for 73 minutes, and then I cut it off regardless of what was going on. So like just kind of aspects of that. It was fun. I foolishly was not paying attention to the timer, so we went like 74 minutes. And then I hit go on the campaign. But yeah, just like something like that. It was like, cause it was just another excuse for create. Like we didn't even talk about I don't think we talked about the project at all. I think we just all just talked about different conventions coming up, because some of us are in the Midwest, and a few are in Columbus, and Columbus has just had space not too long ago. In CXC, people are getting pumped for C2E2 here in Chicago. Everyone's complaining about how New York Comic Con's super expensive and no one wants to go. Just fun things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm originally from New York myself, Brooklyn. I'm living out in Kentucky now,
Nice.
and I'm going for first time in my career. I'm going to Heroes Con, which has been going.
Sweet.
They're having their 40th anniversary convention, so that would be fun.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Heroes Con, even just as an attendee.
Yeah, it's like I've been hearing for years. It's great. It's like I've done a lot of conventions in New York and in the New York area, mostly some out here. But it's good. It's good to get out there when you can, and even comic book stores and bookstores and whatever. However you can get out there is great. So because you mentioned it, we had a question from EJB asking about the significance of the number 73. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll confess that there is no like pure significance for it, other than I wanted a time frame that was hyper limiting, that you couldn't choose what to do. So I wanted a little bit more over an hour, and I was kind of thinking of something kind of abstract, like either do like a prime number of some sort. And I kind of like how 73 looked, like 7 plus 3 equals 10. It has almost like a numerology type of aspect to it. But that was just kind of like an allure type of thing. And I always think it's weird. But like I remember reading that like the book Catch 22 was only called Catch 22 because Joseph Heller thought that 22 was like a funny number. Like he was bouncing between different number combinations and just thought that was the funniest. And when I was coming up with this concept, I was like, I kind of had that in my forefront of mind. I'm like, okay, I kind of have to put importance on this number, but kind of don't. But it's mostly just a limitation as far as time goes. But yeah, no specific reason for 73. It's not like my enemy's name. My enemy was born on July 3rd or anything like that. That's just something I want to choose.
It's not your old apartment number, or,
No. Yeah, it's my credit card number.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So I'm really curious, with this many creators as part of the mix, I hear it over and over, like people that put together comics and have a whole team, how they do the work. They do, whatever you hire them for. They do the writing, they do the penciling, they do the inking, coloring, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to, like actually, promoting the campaign or promoting the book, they're too busy working or whatever.
Yeah.
So how does your team, I'll put it, have been doing as far as promotions and all that?
I'm phenomenal. Part of that is being the editor and I guess team leader, whatever you want to call it, is to let them know, like, as far as promo goes, and like me having, you can call it like a promo plan, or I forget whatever the marketing term is, or a marketing plan. That's what it is. But it really is just a loose, it's just being upfront about expectations about promotion, but also being able to assist. So even way early on, part of like the shared folder that everyone has access to has a specific document with Twitter, because Twitter has, you know, character limitations, and then Facebook, Instagram, post examples. And part of that I kept saying was like, if you don't, you know, if you want to make your own, that's totally cool. But if you're just kind of casually wanting to post and don't want to put the effort in, use any of these pre-made posts. Like there's a good 5 or 6 in each, you know, social media platform. Use either of these. You can just copy and paste. I don't care, and like copy and paste and throw a GIF in it. But then also being upfront. Like today, I forget who. I listened to the Comics Launch podcast, and I forget what the editor's name was, but he broke down what he likes to do when he edits an anthology. And I thought it was brilliant, and you know, let the creative team know that, you know, there's, you know, you can, like, I understand this is not your pure commitment. This isn't your book of the year type of thing, which is totally fine. I understand that. Like I'm heavily invested and you may be only contributing 5 pages or so. But as far as marketing goes, if you do, the only thing that I ask is three posts. I just asked for 3 posts, and like day 1, just tell your fans that the Kickstarter is live and use any of those pre-made posts. And day 2, write a post about the story that you have and why you're excited for it. And day 3, post about one of the other stories within the anthology, and post why you like that story or creative team and are excited about it. And then that's it. Like the idea is that it's supposed to get a buzz, but it is pretty simple. And I try to make it, like I said, as you know, concise, and like you can copy and paste if you really want to some of these things. And then that's it. I mean, everything else is ancillary. You know, if you can you can contribute promo as much as you want. Because yeah, I'm not foolish, and I'm not demanding. Like I understand everyone else has stuff to do. That I'm not, you know, thinking that everyone's going to be promo heavy all the time. But I've given those tools to people that wish to be, and those people that are kind of like you know, on the fence or type of on it. And then also I've at least giving a strategy and expectations, like I said, of these first initial 3 days, because you know, it's, you know, these first 3 days are always important, but you know, the day 2 and day 3 are like what you're excited for about your own stuff, and day 3 is what you're excited for about other people. So that's only something you can answer.
Yeah. You know, it's like some people don't live online, and you know, it's like everybody has their own way of doing things. You know, I always try to promote, even if I do like ink a pinup in a book or whatever, I try to promote it, you know, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and whatever. But yeah, to get other people, and especially a large group of people, you know, doing that is a task.
Yeah,
for sure. I forget. Does your campaign have a video? I don't think so. It's just artwork.
Not this time around. I didn't have a video. I didn't have time to do all that. I've done videos in the past. And B, I couldn't think of anything that wasn't a pure gimmick of me having purple eyes talking about the book. At least, yeah. The videos I've done in the past have been short. Like I know, like I personally don't watch. If I see there's a video on a project and I click play and it says it's 2 minutes long, I just skip the video. So like all my videos have always been like under a minute, like at that 45 to minute mark, because that's all you really need. But yeah, this time around, I purely didn't have time. I was too much spinning plates.
Yeah, you know, it's like I know, man. Like putting together a book is a lot, and especially a book this immense, and dealing with so many different people from so many different places, I can only imagine. But what popped into my head is like you can take maybe celebrities from the past, or like James Dean before he goes for his last car ride. Like, and you look at him, he's got purple eyes. It's like,
Only we knew. That does bring up a good point. One of the when I was doing pitches, or when I was having the pitch submission, I did have like almost like a brain, like not brain teaser, but like jumping off points, like to give people example, like what the rules are of the world. And there was one that I had was that people that are like the daredevil types, if you're gonna do like those squirrel suit fly machine, those things that people do when they jump off cliff, or you're gonna snowboard down a crazy mountain, and you go and you're all prepared and your eyes don't turn purple. They're like, yeah, let's do this, let's go for it. And then you get through with it, and then you fall and something happens, and you're maimed, or something's dislocated permanently, or you're in a coma. Like, there's all these caveats of, even though this thing that is guaranteed, and you think you're going to live past it, you do live past it, but you don't. You come out the other end in a completely lesser form of yourself, type of thing. It's just like it is that aspect.
right.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I used that as like a jumping off point, and someone didn't do a story and someone gets just mangled. Dude, terrible story.
Yeah, it's I like the creativity of it, like that. I've seen plenty of anthologies where it's like the theme is space, the theme is like something to latch onto, but it's completely wide open. Is it's a little loose to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a hindrance or if that's like a plus for this anthology. Because a lot of the anthologies that I've backed, and that I've had friends participate in, they're like either like genre based, or they're public domain ideas, or mashup of two public domain ideas. But this is like, you have to first kind of explain the premise, but then there's not a set genre. And for me, I kind of like that. I like that as a reader, where I turn the page and I don't know if it's the continuation of the story or if the story ends. I mean, usually you could probably tell if the story ends, but like when I turn the page and like read a new story, I get all this new art and this art style, but I don't know the journey the story's going to take me. Like I said, there are ones that are comedy based that I really thought were funny, but I read them as pitches, and I know for some of them, like their execution was it. Like there's punchlines at the end, and you don't know the journey that the creators are taking. You don't know if it's gonna be a revenge story. You don't know if it's gonna be a comedy. You don't know until you turn that page and read it, and you continue reading, which I kind of like that spontaneity, and like that pure new experience.
Is there any story that's in the book that really surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, they're all surprised me as far as how people thought of it. Like I said, there's two revenge stories. There's like a hard revenge story, about someone attacking an abuser. There's a revenge story, that is really good. That's like a revenge, but it's also like a puppy rescue story. Someone gets their puppy back from their abuser. There's like love trysts. There's people that go to death cafes, where people with the purple eyes want to spend their last fortune and just get fucked up, and just like max out their credit cards right before they die, and people just getting all sorts of messed up and fucking around, and so that's gonna be real fun. That's the pencils haven't come in for that one. That one's gonna be a fun visual one. But yeah, there's like I said, the medical drama one was a big one because of just thinking of the scope of that world. And there was one that was really interesting. Valeria, she's in Chile. She's doing one that's almost like a reincarnation story, where it is the person does get purple eyes, but it's almost like a stream of consciousness type of very visual. That was one of the like more supernatural ones. I said like it doesn't have like clear panel layouts, and it's ambiguous enough where it's your interpretation, whatever your spiritual belief is, whether it's like a transitional period between going to whatever your personal belief of the afterlife is, or going through reincarnation. Like she did it fantastic as far as leaving the ambiguity there, but also having it visualized. So that was a surprise take. I can't talk about the comedy ones because the comedy ones, like the punchlines are the surprise. Where there's one specifically There's one that I read the pitch, and it's only a 3-page story, so it's a very quick beginning, middle, and end. And then it's another one where like the best in the majority of these stories, the purple eyes is like it's just like another layer. It's like an afterthought. Like everything else, you can just take out the purple eyes element, whether the character gets purple eyes or the world has some of them. Some of them build upon. I mean, that the concept. They're not every story is going to hammer out the rules to you every single time because they trust that would just be annoying. So yeah, some of them just have that element of in there, but they're just kind of just funny stories in general. I think, like I said, the most thing that I'm surprised about is like just how excited like everyone's been, and everyone just kind of just pouring their ideas into this anthology and like trying to make it better with just thinking stories and putting come up with proper nouns and businesses and bands. One of the stories is a music producer that is part of his contract that he has with musicians is that when you die, if you have purple eyes while you're still in contract, before you die, you need to perform one last song on the spot. Like you need to record a brand new song on the spot within those 73 minutes, or your right to revert it, or or your royalties are null, and you can't pass it off to your estate or your spouse or whatever. That's like that part of the story, which is quickly explained, but that person gets purple eyes, and kind of like the person was like building toward, like the infamous 27 Club. The person was trying to build toward 27 songs and have that be the producer's magnum opus. But yeah, like just because it's musicians and like all, you're walking by, there's scenes of like the producer walking by all their gold records on the wall. All those musicians are scattered, like not them, but like their band names and like their stage names are all scattered about the book, from like people's shirts or or music posters on the wall, or like people watching music videos, or just people's phones or TVs playing the songs, like a radio DJ's like, and that was, and then put that person's name, like things of that nature. And everyone's, like I said, just trying to find the best way to inject those things into their story where they A, make sense and they're not jarring, but B, to I don't know, just they're kind of like Easter eggs, but they're just they're just trying to make things a lot cooler and just like better experience. Like the overall thought is that once you get done with the book, you may want to, I'm not foolish enough to think you want to reread it again, like right again, but you'll get done with the book and maybe pick it up again like 2 weeks later, knowing all the stories. One of the things that Jack Foster is doing, since he's doing the cover, is he's also doing the back cover. And his idea, which is brilliant, was and the portion of the back cover is little trinkets and nods to each individual story. So the idea is when you go through and read all the stories and go through all the back matter and artist profiles, you get to the back cover and you see all the little connective threads that go to all the other end stories. So you kind of want to play whatever it's called. I forget what those picture books used to be called. It's not Where's Waldo.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know the name of it. It doesn't come to mind. All right, I had another. See, this is why I love the premise so much. Is like because all these ideas are popping into my head. Another story. It could be a one-page story where somebody gets purple eyes when they're sleeping, and they just don't wake up.
Yeah, that's exactly one that came in. There was one-page story that was like, hey, this is just like a quick gag of one person, like 6 panels of showing someone going to sleep and then like turning, like in the middle of the night, like turning and facing the reader and their eyes are purple. And then like, continuing and sleeping and they just die.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the thing. There's so many jumping off points. Yeah, I mean, you get to a point where like, how can I kill these people? Like, or how can these people die? then you really got to start worrying.
That's the creativity of it all. So we've got a little over an hour. Is there anything we haven't talked about? Like I got your Kickstarter link down below as well as your website. People can go check out both. Anything we haven't covered that you want to mention?
I mean, nothing specific. Like I truly believe this is a unique anthology. It is an extremely high goal, but that's to counter 2 ways. That's to pay a fair page rate to all the creators, but that's also, we try to keep the price of everything as low as possible in order to reach that. So, I've looked at and compared prices for other anthologies where something with this scope, people would charge like, $35 or $40 for the physical book. And I think that's just way too much of a burden to put on the reader. So we try to keep the price of the actual physical book down and, the digital book down. We know we can do this. We know it's going to be an uphill climb, but we're just all excited for it. And, we've kept another, I've always called it like throwing softballs up in the air type of thing. We left a couple of connective tissues there where, we're kind of talking, but not talking about doing a volume 2. Like we definitely want to do a volume 2 and kind of get that emotion in the beginning of 2023 once everyone has their books, at the end of this year. But we're coming up with ideas of like, well, we can force some of these ties together of stories, but I think they're like, well, we're coming to some, honest realizations of it's not going to work if we make these very 1 to 2 specific connections, but it might work if if the creators come back next year and do another story that would see one of the, I mean, this isn't going to be a teaser, but one of the stories has to do with a pen pal, and the main character is an elderly person, I guess that dies of natural causes, but still has gets purpleized. But you don't see in the story, you don't see who the pen pal is because it's a short story and focus on that one character. But we're trying to figure out ways to, okay, who's this pen pal? And we kept playing around, and we're like, none of the stories really fit because this is an elderly person. Most of our main characters and side characters are our age, and so like, well, we're forcing it too much because this is supposed to be like a long lifetime pen pal friendship. But talking with the creator, he was saying, he's like, yeah, let's just wait, and I'll come back, and he's like, I have a pretty good idea of who that other person is, and let's just do that next time. Like, that makes most sense. That way we have a couple, tying threads, and the off chance, cross my fingers, but like the big idea that I'm hoping for is if we can get three of these purpleized volumes, like really bulky, 125 to 150 pages a piece. Ideally, I'd like to do a big, gigantic hardcover, for when volume 3 goes to Kickstarter, of just like a huge collection. So that's why I want to have as much tying threads as possible that we can do. Like I said, I just call them softball. You just throw it up in the air and know that you can knock it out of the park at any time that you want.
Right. Yeah, like a giant hardcover omnibus or something.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I have no idea how much that's going to budget and all the other stuff, but I think it's just that might be the hubris in me, where I say, I just want some big ass book on my shelf that I created.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure a lot of creators are like, I want to make a coffee book, like where everybody has it in their living room on the table,
Yeah.
We dream, and we work hard to make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been great talking to you, and I definitely wish you the best of luck, and I would say if you do a book 2, give me a ring. I'll do something.
Hell yeah. But I had a great time, Peter, just chatting and watching you do your thing. That's real good.
Yeah, this is go full screen. So this isn't my pencils. This is an artist, Jade Smith. Mostly I'm known as an inker.
Yeah.
This is a graphic novel called Designated. It's 110 pages in all. And it's got a bunch of kids who get a bunch of powers, and it's got aliens. And this is one of the talking head pages, but there's like action pages in it too as well. And I really like the guy's style. He did this one book, and that's his career. Like he went off to do other things, but if this does well, we might do another book, and just get another artist. So we'll see.
Oh yeah. It's looking good.
Cool. Thank you. So thanks to everybody who's watching. Give it a like. Check out Phil's campaign and support a ton of indie creators in the process. Yeah, I hope you reach your goal, and maybe we'll have you pop in just before the end of your campaign, so we can push it to the past the goal.
There you go. Get those stretch goals.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. I'll see you again tomorrow. Just another average show. No specific time. My schedule this month is crazy. Gotta get this book done. Gotta get some other things done. But love you all. See you again.